This crowd is alive.
Play to win the game.
Wyatt from the shotgun, 2 backs alongside.
Knock him out, John.
Wyatt gets the ball.
It won't be long.
Wyatt back to throw. Wyatt looks, fires toward the end zone. Passes, caught for touchdown by Matthew Butler.
Speak to him. They are who we thought they were. And we let them off the hook.
I get out of hand. Just tell me I'm a jerk and shut up.
Let's go scatter the west, right, tight. That's left. 372 Y stick, C-spot.
The Matt Wyatt Show. He's Radio Wyatt.
Well, how am I going to go to college? I'll just play football.
Oh, yeah. Yes, sir, buddy. It's that time of day. It's that time of the week. All that jazz. Y'all know what day it is. Welcome into Wednesday, the Hump Day edition of the Matt Wyatt Show. Come on, do the Humpty Hump, would you? It's Hump Day on the show. Welcome into the Farm Bureau studio. Farm Bureau, go! With the home team. They are your home team at Farm Bureau Insurance. Across the great state of Mississippi, your hometown heroes in all 82 counties across the state. Happy Hump Day. Listen to that bass line. Listen to that. Happy Hump Day, everybody! Y'all feel free to text me over here on the Country Pleasing text line. I'd love to hear from you. Text me. Yeah, 885-ESPN. It's 885-ESPN. That's the easy way to remember it. Some people remember numbers easier. If that's you, it's just 885-3776. And it is a 601 number. Much like the Davini Equipment phone line, Davini Equipment in Madison and in Jackson. Your Kubota dealer. Davini. Call me on the Davini phone. I'd love to hear your voice today. 995-1059. It's a 601 number. Also, 995-1059. Tweet me at Radio Wyatt. If you're watching the stream on Facebook, YouTube, or Periscope, feel free to type it on in there. Hit send, and we'll see what you say. David says, happy Hump Day. Let's go, Hail State. Hope all is good. Brother, everything's fine, David. Gail, happy Hump Day to you. The Rough Creek over on YouTube. First to comment on the tube. Says, just discovered your show. Enjoying it all. Thank you so much. Here we go. Big finish. Hump Day. All right. So, Dr. Brojo, better known as Jables, better known as Brother John, is in the studio today. And yes, just so you'll know, Dr. Brojo, my call screen is working. Somebody fixed it. I don't know who, but I bet it was Beaver because he fixes everything. He just makes it all right. But today, you and others, Jables, have made the world right. For Beaver, let's check in with Beaver. Beaver, I can't even see you, and I just picture you in my head right now smiling from ear to ear. Am I close?
Yeah, you
Not
are.
really. No, he's licking his fingers.
Yeah, that too.
Is it possible to smile while licking your fingers? That's the question for today.
Oh, it is. He's doing both.
Let's see.
So I don't
That's
even know where to start. Real quick for everybody tuning in, yes, you've seen on the tease here, we're going to talk, and I'm going to tell you who the 3 best quarterbacks coaches in the SEC are. That's coming up in about 4 minutes from right now. But for the next 4 minutes, we have an update to the chicken saga, the chicken thief saga right now. Beaver, how did this all start today? What happened?
Let's see. Well, Chris, we all know the story the other day. We don't need to go back into it. He stole the chicken.
Stole it. Walked out with it. Yeah.
And, yesterday he said he was going to replace the chicken.
Okay.
He told me he was going to bring me chicken. Mm-hmm. And in classic Chris Brooks fashion, that was another hashtag empty promise.
Swing and a miss.
And in classic fashion that has also happened before, other people have delivered on his promises. Because I walked in this morning and I had a delivery and a note. I want to read this. It's from Hog Jowl.
Okay.
Hog Jowl, it says, unkept promises are just idle words. I know you have been promised country pleasin' for a long while. I grilled these this morning for you. Jalapeno cheddar and original. I used my homemade barbecue sauce on half of it. Even though this is for you, 2 wrongs don't make a right. You may consider sharing with CB. P.S. I picked these tomatoes this morning. Hog Jowl. And he also gave me 2 whole tomatoes and a big cucumber.
Is that not the best thing ever? The man not only brought you sausage from Country Pleasin', he prepared it for you, 2 different flavors. He provided homegrown produce. This is Hog Jowl, who is a 5-star texter to the show. And it's so, I don't know if he already knew this, Beaver, but coming up later in the show, we're going to have team number 59 on the countdown of 100 teams in 100 days, and it's his Woo Pig Suey Razorbacks. Here, this is for you, Hog Jowl. Just for you. Stand up. Come on, Hog Jowl. I know you're out there. Call those hogs. They do it 3 times. I know it lasts a little long. Here we go. This is about to finish. Here we go. Just for you, Hog Jowl. We calling the hogs because you brought some hog in there, and now Beaver is able to pig out on some country. Okay, so he brought you jalapeno and cheddar, country pleasing, and he also brought you original. You want to describe both flavors? You picked out a favorite between the 2?
That jalapeno cheddar. Anytime there's cheese added to anything, I mean, I can't beat it.
Yeah, right.
I've always been that way too with cheese. My dad used to tell me. He used to tell me when I was little. He said, "Man, you could put cheese on a turd and you'd probably like it." I put cheese on everything growing up.
Hey, you know what I saw in my own eyes once? I was watching this. I was a kid, and I was home sick, so I was already not feeling well, and I was watching Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood on public television. You know Mr. Rogers? It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. We used to play that song just about every day when Roger was with us. Anyway, I was watching Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and he was giving out suggestions for healthy snacks for kids, and he took a banana and peeled it and wrapped a piece of cheese around it and said that was a good snack.
What?
Mm-hmm.
I can't go that far.
Not either.
Did you hear JB? He went,
It's not happening.
Okay, but Jables is in on this too, because not only did Hog Jowl bring you country pleasing sausage, you got all kinds of other gifts, right, Beaver?
Yeah, someone, and this also came with a note. It said, people are not happy with Chris. It said, Beaver, I didn't like how all of the chicken was stolen the other day, so this chicken is for you, and it's in all caps, underlined, and exclamation point, the word you.
Wow.
Stealing chicken makes a beaver angry, so have an angry beaver cup, too, from concerned listener. And they also brought me a little metal tumbler, and it has a big decal on it of a angry beaver face.
Wow. So you got a cup out of the deal, too?
Yeah, I got a cup.
Lord.
I got Raisin Canes. And then Jables walks in, which I didn't even expect him for like 45 minutes. And he comes in with a bag of two chicken legs and a roll because, Jables is the originator. He brought the chicken that was stolen. So now we have come full circle. Mm-hmm. Everything, the world is at peace. And
you're loaded up with free grub. And we're doing alms over there. Is that what we're doing? So you're loaded up with free grub, and Chris Brooks didn't have a doggone thing to do with it.
And I even Matt, I even offered him some sausage. I even offered it to him. He did.
Did you just say sausage?
I did sausage.
He said
sausage.
I kind of like that. He says sausage. I can't say it as
Boston Harbor.
Yeah, we can try to be as cool saying sausage as Beaver, but we can't. It's just something about the way he says it. This is just for this day. This has been Beaver's day. This is incredible. Free, prepared, country-pleasing sausage. Chicken, free chicken. It's free. Got a cup out of the deal, all for him. And we're not even halfway through the day yet. It's just more proof that in Beaver's world, it truly is always sunny in Jackson. It truly is. Now, if this were an episode of It's Always Sunny, something would be wrong with all that food and it'd make you really sick, you know. But this is not Hollywood. This is the real Always Sunny in Jackson. Okay, so there's the update of the story. Jabel's in, Beaver here, and more importantly, you are here listening, and I appreciate it. Y'all text us on the Country Pleasing text line, Country Pleasing Sausage, the aforementioned 885-ESPN, text away. Call me on the Davini phone, 995-1059. And I'm going to get to your comments. Over here on Facebook, Jesse says, donuts with cheese melted on them. Fabulous. And don't laugh till you try it. Whew. Man, I don't know about that. Donuts with cheese melted on them. Jesse, thanks for watching, commenting on the Facebook live stream. Cody, watching on YouTube, says, good afternoon. Go Tigers. That's Geaux. So we know what that means. Go, as in Coach O and the Bengal Tigers from the Bayou. Will says, calling the Hogs is the dumbest chant in college football. We'll get to that later, Will. There are others who agree. I will tell you that anytime I've heard it on television, anytime I've seen video or I just hear the audio on the radio, it does strike you. It's like, wait a minute, hold on. How is that supposed to motivate a team? What? But when you see it and hear it in person in Arkansas, it's pretty cool. And Arkansas folks are generally really nice people. I have said before, I could hang out with Arkansas folks. I really could. Like you go duck hunting in the morning, go to the game at 11 a.m., and then you go trout fishing that afternoon. I could hang out in Arkansas now. I could like it. Arkansas is coming up later on the countdown. I know the cat's out of the bag, but we're going to have a full deal because they are an interesting proposition, and I think, given what Hog Jowl has done today, I think he deserves it. But first, the aforementioned, I teased it, and we're 12 minutes, but hey, this was more important. I teased it because I started doing a little research for a video I'm going to put together and pop out there on the YouTube channel coming up. And I had this on my mind because it came up in a conversation, a radio interview I did. The top 3 quarterbacks coaches in the SEC. Who are the best quarterbacks coaches in the SEC? And hopefully they're coming to a city near you soon. All right, coming to your city. Which Death Valley? Hey, in that particular song right there, in the game day song, we rolled right through Death Valley. Which one are they talking about? You know, Chad Kelly, former Ole Miss quarterback who came from Clemson, said that LSU was the real Death Valley. Throwing a little shot up there at Clemson. Anyway, which one are they talking about? No, here they are. The top 3 quarterbacks coaches in the SEC. Number 3, Lane Kiffin, head coach Ole Miss. Number 2, Mike Leach, head coach now, Mississippi State. And number 1, the number 1 quarterbacks coach in the SEC is Dan Mullen, head coach, Florida, formerly of Mississippi State. Lynn says hi on Facebook. Hi to you, Lynn. Hail State to you, man. So what do you think about my list? Tell me where I'm wrong. Y'all text or call. It's in my opinion. It doesn't have to be yours. We don't have to share the same opinion, but just let me know. Top 3 quarterbacks coaches in the SEC. Number 3, Lane Kiffin. Number 2, Mike Leach. Number 1, Dan Mullen. Now, all kinds of numbers, all kinds of metrics, all kinds of reasoning go behind it. Part of it is, for me personally, the eye test and a few specific examples. And there are a bunch of good ones. This is the SEC. Now you go, well, hold on a minute. LSU had Joe Burrow. Yeah, I know. And Ensminger is still there, but kind of the guy was the whole situation at LSU, I think, was the combination of Joe Brady and Joe Burrow. Neither are there anymore. These are coaches that are currently in the SEC that have gotten it done over the long haul. So let's start at number 1, okay? And then I'm going to throw something at you, and then I'll tell you briefly why Dan Mullen's number 1, briefly why Lane Kiffin's number 2, and then briefly why Mike Leach is number 2, and then Lane Kiffin's number 3. And then we'll get into it a little bit later here in the hour. Dan Mullen. We know the path. All the schools he's coached as an assistant and then as a head coach. Here's the overall reasoning why Dan Mullen's the number 1 quarterbacks coach in the SEC. For me, it's because as a coordinator quarterbacks coach and as a head coach quarterbacks coach, every quarterback who has played under Dan Mullen and started has been better the next year than he was the year before. And you go, well, Matt, that can't be the only qualifier for Dan Mullen, because there could be a lot of coaches out there who their guys improve. There could be other guys in the SEC who their guys improve from year to year. I mean, generally, quarterbacks who start year upon year improve, generally. They don't all do it, but generally. Okay, you could say that. But it is extremely consistent across the career of Dan Mullen, and with different types of quarterbacks. He's had runners and passers. He's had different styles of offense built around him. That would be different than a Mike Leach. Mike Leach hasn't had runners. He's had all passers and the same offense everywhere he's been all these different years. So it's a little different. And that's why I say Mullen, to me, over the course of his career, absolutely has been the best at developing whoever it is, whatever his skill set is, in whatever offense they're playing in. And they go out and they improve and they're better year upon year. And I don't think anybody also would argue that Mullen, more so than other guys in the league, in the SEC, Mullen has taken the developmental guy, the non-5-star, the off-the-radar prospect, Chris Relf, Dak Prescott, Kyle Trask, and has turned them into league and national leaders. So there you go, briefly. That's why Mullen is number 1. The reason why Mike Leach is the number 2 quarterback in the SEC is really obvious as well. This long history. 3 different schools, now at his 4th as the head coach, and you could go 5 schools if you went back to when he was at Kentucky, of developing passers who not only led their conference in passing, but led the country in passing. And immediately all these guys parlayed it into NFL careers. And if they didn't have an NFL career, it go, well, a long time they're NFL coaches. But we're talking about players. And none of these guys, outside of Tim Couch, were highly sought after recruits, 5-star type players. They just weren't. Not all. I mean, a lot of them highly recruited, but we're not talking about number 1 player in the country like Tim Couch was. Mike Leach has developed guys everywhere he's been to, again, not only leading the conference in passing, but leading the country in passing. And school after school and guy after guy, whether they're 2-year starters and 1-year starters, they all improve, and they all go play in the NFL, and they all lead the country in passing. So it's very obvious to me why Mullen is the number 1 QB coach in the league, Leach is the number 2 quarterbacks coach in the league, and here's why Lane Kiffin is the 3rd best quarterbacks coach in the SEC. It's because pretty much everywhere he's been, he's either done one of 2 things. Either he's done more with less, or just like Mullen, his guys have improved year upon year if they stay there and have eligibility left. They all improve just the way Mullen has. Now, Kiffin's deals were like, it's a little more sporadic, right? It's not the typical career path that we see with a Mullen. We know all the deal. He goes to Tennessee 1 year and skedaddles. He gets run out of Tuscaloosa before the year's up. We know all this kind of stuff. Got fired at USC. But you can look across his career and just look back at the last 2 stops. I made a few notes. Look back at the last prior to Ole Miss, where he's about to coach. Go back to when he was the coordinator at Alabama and then 3 years as the head coach at FAU. When he was at Alabama, 3 years, he had 3 different quarterbacks. 3 quarterbacks in 3 years. All 3 of them set records in certain areas at Alabama. All 3 of them overachieved far and away better than anybody thought they would be. And then he goes to Florida Atlantic. And what do you notice at Florida Atlantic? In 3 years, well, look at the last 2. He had a guy 2 years ago who was okay, he was pretty good, and made a huge, tremendous jump and improved from 2018 to 2019. So I'll give you a little more specific numbers. And if you disagree, let me know. But it's going to be hard to disagree. Pretty fortunate around here in the Mississippi, footprint that we're experiencing all 3. Stick around.
There's a lot of noise.
Farm Bureau Insurance stands ready to provide financial relief to our communities in this time of crisis. This includes a one-time credit to all personal auto policyholders, a donation of $500,000 to the Mississippi Food Network, and additional payment options for those hit the hardest, all while continuing to service customer claims as well. But this is the time to go above and beyond. These are a few ways we're keeping the Farm Bureau promise. To learn more, talk to your agent or visit us online. Go with the home team.
Hey, like my hog hat. That stands for Country Pleasin' Sausage. Country Meat Packers is a great Mississippi company. Let me tell you a little bit about them, huh? You want to know the reason that you need to sit down at the table and say, Country Pleasin', please? Here's why. It all starts with hand-picked, pure pork. No parts, no stuff. It's hand-picked ham, bacons, pork loins, the real deal. They produce Country Pleasin' in small batches also, which means consistency in every package. Spices, fresh ones that are mixed daily on site right there at the plant in Florence. The hand-picked pure pork is coarse ground for an old-style snappy bite, better flavor. Now, their smokehouses are not cookie-cutter houses either. They are designed and built for country meat packers and for their own smoking methods. And they use hickory logs that they split daily on site. They don't use hickory sawdust. The logs produce a better smoke, a stronger flavor. It's the real deal. They use a natural hog casing for their sausage. It's soaked in vinegar for a tender snap. Country Pleasin' sausage is smoked in a 4-hour pure smoke process for the best color and flavor. And here's the thing, it's hand cut, so the package experience is great as well. When you check it out on grocery store shelves throughout the Southeast, you'll see what I'm talking about. And frankly, let me put it this way. It's the best tasting sausage you'll put in your mouth every time, period. That's Country Pleasin'. Have yourself a Country Pleasin' morning, and always text the show on the Country Pleasin' text line.
Guys, 2020 is here. So new year, that means we got some new products, and I know you guys are probably getting ready for this year coming up. So a lot of people in the equipment world, things kind of go in trends, I guess, if you want to say it. So kind of the first big thing for 2020 that we look at when we start evaluating our business is going to be our turf equipment. That's kind of the first big push, because once everything, the water dries up and the grass starts growing, this is what everybody's looking to get. So we've got Kubota, we've got Toro, we carry the new Wright stand-up mower. Doesn't look like much, and it's dirty as all get out. But this thing is, and it costs just as much as zero turn. Not a cheap unit at all. I mean, if you go out there and look at that zero turn, this thing right here, I mean, it's got all your components from your big pumps to your commercial engine to your large steel deck. And these guys were the first ones to make the standard mower. So we added this product last year, and I was just trying to kind of wade in the water with it just to kind of see what they would do. Number one, stand-on mower out there. If you do your own research, get online, all roads are going to basically lead back to right. So and Red Max, so, you know, from the handheld to the Red Max mowers, we have everything here at Davini. You've got homeowner mowers, starting with a 100 series, going up to the 400 series, going up to your full-blown commercial 700 series and your diesel mowers. Yeah, so we've already gotten a lot of calls this year, commercial guys. They're getting ready to plan this coming up season, this coming up year, trying to get their equipment needs ready to go for their customers. So, you know, a big part of our business is dealing with the landscape contractors, those guys that are out every day busting it during the summertime, you know, cutting yards, cutting lawns, maintaining properties. We've got everything that you guys need to have your...
Back on the show. Hump Day, Wednesday. It is Wednesday, isn't it? Sometimes I lose track. Yeah, it is. Dan Mullen, the number 1 quarterback coach in the SEC. Mike Leach, number 2 quarterbacks coach in the SEC. Lane Kiffin, number 3. That's my list. What is yours? Agree, disagree? Y'all let me know. Text me on the Country Pleasing text line. A lot of people asking about Jimbo Fisher. Get to that. I got a question on here about Chad Morris as well. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of good ones, but we'll get into that. 885-ESPN, the number to text. 995-1059, the number to call. Here in the Farm Bureau studio today. Staying connected to you because of Ceasefire, the number 1 network in Mississippi. Ceasefire, customer inspired. I have the iPhone 8 Plus, so it's the large size, you know, iPhone 8 Plus. And I ordered online, it came in this week, this lens. It's a certain type of camera lens that you can actually attach to your phone. It allows you to take, you know, interesting video, maybe better video in some cases, but it requires a certain case that you put on your phone in order to attach the lens to it. And when it came in, it was such a bummer. I couldn't use it because the case that came in was for the iPhone 8, the regular size phone. I have the big one, so I had to send it back, and I finally just got the case in that fits it, and so I can use that new lens. It's amazing what you can do with the cameras and stuff on iPhones. It's just incredible. Anybody that watches my stream on Facebook or YouTube, that's an old iPhone that's actually videoing this for the live stream. It sure is. Now you use different things. You got lights and different apps and all, but phones these days are certainly amazing. Speaking of which, here on my phone, I got this just a minute ago. Now, this goes back to yesterday. It was actually tweeted out yesterday, but it was retweeted today by someone that I follow. And so I just thought I'd kind of throw this at you. Two things. One, on Twitter, there's some news today breaking that Stanford is cutting a whole bunch of sports. 11 varsity sports, Stanford's dropping them at the end of the 2020 and 21 year. Men's and women's fencing, field hockey, lightweight rowing, men's rowing, co-ed and women's sailing, squash, men's volleyball, wrestling, and synchronized swimming. They're cutting all those sports at the end of the school year. You also have news today, like the Ivy League is supposed to come out today and say that they are canceling football season in the fall, and they're just going to try to play football in the spring, and that's the Ivy League. You know, I think there was news yesterday that Harvard said they're not going to bring any students back on campus this fall at all. They went ahead and made that decision. And so people around the country are going, well, if that's the Ivy League, what does that mean for the rest of college football? Well, Brandon Marcello used to cover Mississippi State for the Clarion Ledger, and he moved on to AL.com in Alabama. He was an Auburn guy. And then he got into the internet world, and he's big time now with 24/7 Sports, covers college football for 24/7. And he sent this out. He said, what if I told you whatever the Ivy League announces Wednesday, moving football to the spring, has no effect on what the Power 5 decides later this month? Administrators in Power 5 offices tell me that they're not following their lead. They have their own timeline to make decisions. With that said, Power 5 administrators are pessimistic that the season starts on time. They'll wait until late July, early August to make decisions. But the first contingency will be an in-season delay, not a push to the spring. That is the last option. I think we all need to know that. We're all football folks, and we're sitting here talking about it today. All right, Country Please and text line, Country Please and Sausage, 885-ESPN. Who's up first? Scott. He said, the last game I saw at Memorial Stadium in Jackson was between Ole Miss and Arkansas, and I got so tired of hearing Woo Pig Suey.
Come on, all you Razorback fans. Let's stand up and call those hogs.
Yeah, people find it annoying. I guess if you do hear it a bunch, I don't mind it. It's just a little different. I mind it on television. I don't mind it in person at all. Nick on the Country Please and text says the difference between Mullen and Leach is Leach doesn't have to have a great quarterback that tucks it and runs it on 3rd and long. I mean, they primarily have been a throwing offense. The numbers are really incredible on some of this stuff, and it would take a while to really go through all of it. When I post this video on YouTube later, it may be tomorrow morning, the graphics will help because you get to see the numbers as opposed to just hear them. And then somebody texted me and said, I'm guessing you have Jimbo Fisher 4th. Lynn on Facebook said you could make a case for Jimbo Fisher, maybe, but sounds about right to me. There's no doubt you could make a case for Jimbo Fisher. Right? I mean, he took Jameis Winston, turned him into a Heisman Trophy winner, and it's not like the guy isn't talented. I mean, he was a big-time recruit, but turns him into a Heisman Trophy winner, wins a national championship with him. And, here's the other question. Somebody brought up Chad Morris. Atticus, who's watching the show on the YouTube live stream today, said, what are your thoughts on Chad Morris as quarterback's coach, now the offensive coordinator at Auburn? A ton of success over the years, and you go back to his days at Clemson and all, and I don't remember so much about the SMU days, but it seems like I could go back and, remember that for him there was big numbers there. But are we selling, anybody could ask, are you selling Gus Malzahn short a little bit? You look at what they do last year with a true freshman in Bo Nix. You look at all the winning and playing for a national championship they did with Nick Marshall, who's basically an athlete, a converted defensive back, playing quarterback for him. And so there's a lot of ifs and ands and buts that you could throw in there. But I just don't think you can argue Dan Mullen at all. Josh Harris, Bowling Green, 2002. The numbers he put up, started all 12 games as a junior in 2002. Mullen coaching him. He led Bowling Green to a 9-3 record, threw for 2,425 yards and 19 touchdowns. Rushed for 737 and 20 scores. Alex Smith, Utah, 2004. In his first season under Mullen, Alex Smith, 10-2, throws for 2,247 yards, 15 touchdowns, and only 3 interceptions, and a 65% completion rate. Okay, he doubled his passing and rushing touchdowns the next year as a junior. And then, 2004 Heisman Trophy, selected first overall to the 2005 NFL Draft by the 49ers. Alex Smith, from the first guy he coached at Bowling Green to Alex Smith at Utah and others, and plenty of other examples. Chris Leach at Florida, played under Mullen, got better from one year to the next. Tim Tebow. I mean, there's no point in even going through Tebow's numbers. We know his career. We know what he was about. Played for Mullen. Then you get to Mississippi State. Chris Relf, the starter in 2010, was the backup to Tyson Lee effectively in 2009, the year before. Y'all forget that in the first year under Dan Mullen in 2009, Relf actually led the team in passing touchdowns with 5. That's right. And then you look at what he did the next year in 2010. 9-win season. Chris Ralph threw for 1,700 yards, 13 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, rushed for 713 and 5 scores. Led the team with 194 carries. Tyler Russell, better from one year to the next, got hurt his last year. And then comes Dak Prescott. We know all about it. What Dak did. The improvement. Turned him into a passer and a draft pick and an ultimate rookie of the year in the NFL kind of passer from one year to the next. And he was nowhere near that kind of passer when he sprung onto the scene in 2014. Dak's numbers are just incredible. Broke 10 school records. His senior year broke the school record for single season passing yards, 3,449 yards. Total yards. Threw 27 touchdowns in 2015 as a senior. And all that. Of course, he didn't get to, coach out the career of Nick Fitzgerald, but look what he did at Florida. He's coaching these guys. His first year at Florida, Felipe Franks was better than he was the year before under a previous staff. This past year, Kyle Trask, second only in the SEC in passing to Joe Burrow. A guy who Kyle Trask the year before, everybody goes, oh yeah, the backup at Florida, the big guy. It's just incredible how under Mullen, they all get better. If you win the starting job and you go play for him this year, and you can manage to win it and go play for him next year, you will be better next year than you are this year. Improvement, and winning improvement. It really is incredible. And gosh, you look at the names of guys who've played quarterback for Mike Leach, the number 2, in my opinion, quarterbacks coach in the SEC. Tim Couch, Josh Heupel, Cliff Kingsbury, B.J. Simmons, Sonny Cumbie, Graham Harrell, Taylor Potts, Connor Halliday at Washington State, Luke Falk at Washington State, Tyler Herlinsky, Washington State, Gardner Minshew, and a lot of those guys, multiple year starters who got better year upon year. It's really incredible. Those Texas Tech guys, their numbers are incredible. And then you look at Kiffin, and I'm going to mention him next. There are, to round this out, I'm going to mention it next, and I'm going to drive home the point. There were people on Twitter that disagreed with me that I'd had Kiffin as the number 3 quarterbacks coach in the SEC and not others. Look, I'm going to tell you next why, no doubt, Kiffin is up there in the top 3. Stick around.
There's a lot of noise when it comes to 5G.
We're 5G Farm ready. Bureau Insurance stands ready to provide financial relief to our communities in this time of crisis. This includes a one-time credit to all personal auto policyholders, a donation of $500,000 to the Mississippi Food Network, and additional payment options for those hit the hardest, all while continuing to service customer claims as well. But this is the time to go above and beyond. These are a few ways we're keeping the Farm Bureau promise. To learn more, talk to your agent or visit us online. Go with the home team.
Campuses are empty. The arenas are silent. For now. People here today are few and far between. But soon, a crowd will show up. It's not a matter of if football will be played here. It's a matter of when.
I'll be there. I'm sure you will be too. I'll see you there.
It won't be long now. Can you imagine the return of the crowds to see the return of the team? What a day that will be. And it will be soon. How you like my hog hat? That stands for Country Pleasin' Sausage. Country Meat Packers is a great Mississippi company. Let me tell you a little bit about them, huh? You want to know the reason that you need to sit down at the table and say, country pleasin', please? Here's why. It all starts with hand-picked, pure pork. No parts, no stuff. It's hand-picked ham, bacons, pork loins, the real deal. They produce country pleasin' in small batches also, which means consistency in every package. Spices, fresh ones that are mixed daily on site right there at the plant in Florence. The hand-picked pure pork is coarse ground for an old-style snappy bite, better flavor. Now, their smokehouses are not cookie-cutter houses either. They are designed and built for country meat packers and for their own smoking methods. And they use hickory logs that they split daily on site. They don't use hickory sawdust. The logs produce a better smoke, a stronger flavor. It's the real deal. They use a natural hog casing for their sausage. It's soaked in vinegar for a tender snap. Country Pleasin' sausage is smoked in a 4-hour pure smoke process for the best color and flavor. And here's the thing, it's hand cut, so the package experience is great as well. When you check it out on grocery store shelves throughout the Southeast, you'll see what I'm talking about. And anybody remember who the all-time leader, well, all-time, let me back up. The single-season passing leader in the history books of the University of Alabama was, do y'all know who it was prior to Tua Tagovailoa setting the record in 2018, a couple of years ago? It makes sense. Do you know who it was? Say it another way. 2 years ago, 2018, Tua Tagovailoa sets the single-season passing yardage mark at the University of Alabama. Who did he jump in front of to take the number one spot? Anybody know who that was? I'll see if you know, and then I'm going to come back to it. And I'll tell you a hint. Lane Kiffin coached him. Norman on the Country Pleasin' text line at 885-ESPN. 885-ESPN. Coffee Norman says, Matt, what's the latest chatter on college football in-person classes on college in-person classes or playing football? He said a lot of Ole Miss students posted yesterday that 80% of their classes went online. That points to no football to me. Norman, okay, couple things. Let me know when 100% of the classes go online. If there's any percentage of classes that you can take and attend on campus as a student this fall, then you can have students on campus. And that points to the possibility of being open to college football. Now, if any school says, nope, 100% of our classes are all going to be online this fall because of coronavirus, well, that means there will be no football. Here's why. It goes back to something I preached on this show 2 months ago. The one thing that must happen for colleges to be able to legally, from a liability standpoint, conduct football activities, practices, meetings on campus for players and teams and coaches and all that, and then have games, and is you must have students on campus. It must be open to any and all students. Not all classes. It just must be open to all students. because there is no, in lawyerese, there is no such thing as a scenario where it's not safe for students to come to campus, but it is safe for student athletes to come to campus. They're the same. Either you can have students there or not. Can you have students? Yes. Well, then you can have football. Maybe. Can you have students there? No. Well, then you can't have football. And so 80% is a step. You're exactly right. 80% is a step towards closing a campus. And if they close a campus to on-campus classes, in-person classes, then whatever school that is not having football. That's what I do know. Hog Jow texted me and he said, we all aren't crazy about other schools' cheers and traditions. I'm not a fan of cowbells or the gator chomp. Absolutely, the best cheer is Austin P. Let's go P. That's a good one. I've never heard it. I've just heard other people repeat that over the years for sure. Yeah, there's your answer. The guy that Tua Tagovailoa passed in the Alabama record books for the top spot, all-time single-season passing mark. The guy he passed was not A.J. McCarron. It wasn't Jay Barker. It wasn't John Parker Wilson. It wasn't Greg McElroy. It was Blake Sims. Lane Kiffin spent 3 years as the offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach in Tuscaloosa. All 3 years, he had a different quarterback. He had a new one each year. The first one was 2014, Blake Sims, a converted running back. And I know this is a la Nick Marshall, converted DB out there at Auburn. And with Blake Sims, y'all remember that year in 2014? Blake Sims threw the ball 391 times as a little bitty 5'11", 6 foot tall, fast former running back. Does that remind you of anybody, John Rice Plumlee? 5'11", 6 feet tall, fast. He's a running back. Well, under Lane Kiffin in 2014, Blake Sims threw the ball 391 times, completed 65% of them for 3,487 yards, 28 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. You don't think Lane Kiffin figured out a way to coach a quarterback? When Blake Sims does that at Alabama, and when his career is over, the NFL did not even sniff him as a quarterback, wouldn't even consider it. The only guy who's thrown for more yards in an Alabama season was Tua Tagovailoa, threw for roughly not quite 500 more yards than Blake Sims did it. By the way, you know who the number 3 single-season passer all-time at Alabama is? It's the guy that Lane Kiffin coached in year 2, Jake Coker. 3,110 yards that year. He's a number 3 single-season passer all-time at Alabama. He threw it 393 times, 2 more times than Blake Sims did the year before. He completed 67% of his passes. 25 touchdowns and only 8 interceptions. There was a number that I saw, and I think, I think it was on an article at 24/7 Sports. But there was a number that I saw about Jake Coker that in the last 10 games of that particular season, Coker, I think, led the country in completion percentage over that stretch in 2015. He completed 73% of his throws in the last 10 games under Kiffin. And the third year, Kiffin was the OC at Alabama. Who was his quarterback? Freshman of the year, freshman All-American, newcomer of the year in the SEC, Jalen Hurts. True freshman Jalen Hurts in 2016 threw the ball 382 times, only 11 fewer throws than Jake Coker the year before. Completed 63%, 2,780 yards, 23 touchdowns, and only 9 interceptions as a freshman. But to me, what he did with Blake Sims, I'm not projecting. I don't know that it's going to work out this way. All kinds of things have to fall in place. You got to put a good team around him. But, buddy, let me tell you something. If Lane Kiffin can figure out a way to get Blake Sims to be the all-time leader, single-season passing leader at Alabama at the time, what do you think he can do with John Rice Plumlee at Ole Miss? I'm just telling you like it is. All right, here we go. Chris, who's on the Davini Equipment phone line, hanging on for a few minutes there, and I appreciate that. Chris, thanks for calling. What's up?
Man, you give it away. I didn't even look it up. I knew who that answer was.
I believe you, because as soon as I put it out there, you called. I believe you that you knew without looking it up.
Yeah, but anyway, and I'm not even an Alabama fan. That comes from somebody that's just a college football fan. But I think what he did with Dak was pretty good, but I heard some people from Mississippi State say that Dak had the tools when he come there. He just needed the right person to guide him through it.
Well, sure. Yeah, absolutely. Sure, that's true.
I think the biggest, and people may ride me from State for saying this, I think the biggest and best quarterback coaching job that Dan Mullen ever did was with Nick Fitzgerald. Because I've heard more than one time anybody say that Nick was like the most raw talent he had ever had, ever. And to this day, I think Dan even said last year that he was the most raw and really didn't, because I don't, what was Nick 1 year as a high school quarterback?
Right.
Wasn't he a receiver before that?
He was in high school for the most part. Played in a triple option type of offense. I think the guy who was actually the starting quarterback at Nick's high school before he became the high school quarterback, the guy went to Air Force. Yeah, to be a quarterback at Air Force, in the triple option deal. So that's kind of what it was. I would argue also that probably right up there would be Chris Relf. And he got to coach Chris for more years, obviously, than he did with Nick. But when you look at Relf's career, and they're different. And the truth about it is, Relf probably had a little bit better just natural throwing mechanics than Nick did, if we just look at pure mechanics. But I saw Relf, as a freshman in practices and stuff before Mullen got there, and I remember thinking to myself, he's out of place. He can't do it. And boy, was I ever wrong.
2 days in a row, you're picking scabs off of Mississippi State people. Because yesterday, you didn't get it, but yesterday, if you remember right, that Auburn game in 2010, the only reason why we lost that game was because of a ref not putting Chris Relf in the end zone like he was supposed to.
Well, are you thinking about the game at Auburn when they stopped him on the goal line? Yeah, that was the next year. Yeah. See, that was the next year, 2011, and that was a great football game. And you're right, it was like a fourth down stop on the goal line where they tackled Chris and called him down.
It wasn't a stop. It was just a ref. It was just a ref didn't know what he was looking at. But anyway, y'all have a great day, and I'll talk to you later.
See you, Chris. I never mind anybody calling in and bashing the referees. Stick around.
There's a lot of noise when
Farm
it comes
Bureau
to...
Insurance stands ready to provide financial relief to our communities in this time of crisis. This includes a one-time credit to all personal auto policyholders, a donation of $500,000 to the Mississippi Food Network, and additional payment options for those hit the hardest, all while continuing to service customer claims as well. But this is the time to go above and beyond. These are a few ways we're keeping the Farm Bureau promise. To learn more, talk to your agent or visit us online. Go with
Pay like my hog hat. That stands for Country Pleasin' Sausage. Country Meat Packers is a great Mississippi company. Let me tell you a little bit about them, huh? You want to know the reason that you need to sit down at the table and say, country pleasin', please? Here's why. It all starts with hand-picked, pure pork. No parts, no stuff. It's hand-picked ham, bacons, pork loins, the real deal. They produce Country Pleasin' in small batches also, which means consistency in every package. Spices, fresh ones that are mixed daily on site right there at the plant in Florence. The hand-picked pure pork is coarse ground for an old-style snappy bite, better flavor. Now, their smokehouses are not cookie-cutter houses either. They are designed and built for country meat packers and for their own smoking methods. And they use hickory logs that they split daily on site. They don't use hickory sawdust. The logs produce a better smoke, a stronger flavor. It's the real deal. They use a natural hog casing for their sausage. It's soaked in vinegar for a tender snap. Country Pleasing sausage is smoked in a 4-hour pure smoke process for the best color and flavor. And here's the thing, it's hand cut, so the package experience is great as well. When you check it out on grocery store shelves throughout the Southeast, you'll see what I'm talking about. And frankly, let me put it this way. It's the best tasting sausage you'll put in your mouth every time, period. That's Country Pleasing. Have yourself a Country Pleasing morning, and always text the show on the Country Pleasing text line.
Guys, 2020 is here. So new year, that means we got some new products, and I know you guys are probably getting ready for this year coming up. So a lot of people in the equipment world, things kind of go in trends, I guess, if you want to say it. So kind of the first big thing for 2020 that we look at when we start evaluating our business is going to be our turf equipment. That's kind of the first big push, because once everything, the water dries up and the grass starts growing, this is what everybody's looking to get. So we've got Kubota, we've got Toro, we carry the new Wright stand-up mower. Doesn't look like much, and it's dirty as all get out. But this thing is, and it costs just as much as zero turn. Not a cheap unit at all. I mean, if you go out there and look at that zero turn, this thing right here, I mean, it's got all your components from your big pumps to your commercial engine to your large steel deck. And these guys were the first ones to make the standard mower. So we added this product last year, and I was just trying to kind of wade in the water with it just to kind of see what they would do. Number one stand-on mower out there. If you do your own research, get online, all roads are going to basically lead back to Wright. So and Red Max, so, from the handheld to the Red Max mowers, we have everything here at Davini. You've got homeowner mowers, starting with a 100 series, going up to the 400 series, going up to your full-blown commercial 700 series and your diesel mowers. Yeah, so we've already gotten a lot of calls this year, commercial guys. They're getting ready to plan this coming up season, this coming up year, trying to get their equipment needs ready to go for their customers. So, a big part of our business is dealing with the landscape contractors, those guys that are out every day busting it during the summertime, cutting yards, cutting lawns, maintaining properties. We've got everything that you guys need to have your season going, and then we have the service to back it up as well, service and parts to back it up as well. Just like this machine right here, this is your Z781i, which is going to be your electronic fuel injected Kubota 60-inch commercial unit. These just came out last year. Big hit for us last season. So really looking forward to getting more of these out in the field for you guys this year. So if you've got a business, landscape contractors, you guys come see us.
First up, Farm Bureau. You hear me talk about Farm Bureau Insurance, Mississippi Farm Bureau Insurance. And here's a couple things I want you to know about Farm Bureau Insurance in Mississippi. Number one, they call themselves the home team. There's a reason for that. It's not just that most of your local agents throughout all 82 counties are people that are from right here. In terms of, like, if anything ever did need to go up the chain a little bit, Jackson is as far as you're going. It's not another state. It's not an 800 number with some answering service. They call themselves the home team at Farm Bureau, and they really are your hometown heroes. You hear me say that Ceasefire is the number one network in Mississippi. That's unquestioned. They are another great Mississippi company as well and really support local sports, high school. You see their logo and their advertisements at Ole Miss and at Mississippi State and at Southern Miss and everywhere. And you may have heard this, you may not have, though. I mentioned this recently on the show, but there's a new thing they have at Ceasefire called the Ceasefire Health App. Okay, go to ceasefirehealth.com, read about it, sign up, and you put that app on your phone. And basically, if you have a minor ailment, a sickness, a minor health issue, something that, we're not talking about a broken leg or a heart attack. I mean, minor sickness ailments, instead of having to go to the doctor for that and sit in the doctor's office for an hour, if you live out, drive 40 minutes just to get to the doctor's office, you pick up the phone, click on the Ceasefire Health App, and within minutes, you are video chatting, like FaceTime. You're video conferencing, talking to a medical professional at University Medical Center. One-on-one, live conversation, like nurse practitioner, someone like that. And a lot of times they can tell you what's going on, maybe even diagnose you right there on your...
Fires toward the end zone. Passes. Caught for touchdown by Matthew Butler.
Speak to.
They are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
I get out of hand. Just tell me I'm a jerk and shut up.
Let's go scatter the west, right, tight. That's left. 372 wide stick, C-spot.
The Matt Wyatt Show. He's Radio Wyatt.
Well, how am I going to go to college? I'll just play football.
Yo! Hour 2 of the show, off and running. I'm Matt in the Farm Bureau studio. Farm Bureau, go! With the home team. They are your home team. Farm Bureau Insurance across the state of Mississippi. The reason I call them hometown heroes is because that's the way it feels, man. Look, regardless of where you live in all 82 counties, if you have your insurance, home, life, and auto with Farm Bureau, no matter when, no matter how, you have a fender bender at 11 o'clock on Saturday night. You need help, insurance help. Guess what? You didn't have your card. You're a little scattered. You got a question. You text your buddy who's your insurance agent, lives 3 streets down there. You're going to see him on Sunday morning in church anyway. Hit him up, and there he is on the phone. He'll come on out and help you. Listen, one-on-one, face-to-face, that's how you deal with your local Farm Bureau insurance agent. That's why they are the hometown heroes. And it's even better because you always have service to get in touch with Farm Bureau agents. If you've got a phone from Ceasefire, like me, Ceasefire, the #1 network in Mississippi, a great Mississippi company. Ceasefire, customer inspired. Coming to the phones first over here on the Davini Equipment phone. That's in 30 seconds to Tide Man and Michael. Hey to everybody watching on the live stream. A whole bunch of comments here, including a couple from C-Note. We were having a conversation about the Ole Miss Offense with Lane Kiffin on the YouTube live stream. If you want to see YouTube, just go check it out. It's just Matt Wyatt Media on YouTube. And I'm going to get to that because some interesting thoughts in there, comparing them to, some other schools that made tremendous strides offensively. Can Ole Miss do that under Kiffin? We'll see. First up, though, starting off hour number 2 with Tide Man on the Davini Equipment phone. What's up, Tide Man?
Hey, good afternoon, man.
Yo.
Hope y'all are well and safe out there.
Thank you.
I heard y'all talking a little bit about Bama, and just wanted to get your thoughts as a legendary SEC quarterback yourself that knows more about football than I will ever know. But couple of things I was thinking about. You mentioned Blake Sims, and I remember when Blake Sims was playing and starting for us. I halfway through the season, I was telling my buddies, I said, look, if Blake Sims was doing what he's doing at Alabama, if he was doing it at Oregon or Oklahoma or anywhere else, he'd be in New York. He'd be in New York.
Yep.
He'd be a Heisman Trophy candidate. And because he's doing this at Bama, it's just sort of like, oh, well, he's just part of the system, or it's all due to Lane Kiffin. And no doubt about it, I take nothing away from Lane Kiffin. I think you're exactly right. My thing about Lane Kiffin is I think he's a tremendous developer of quarterbacks. I think he's an overrated play caller or offensive coordinator. That's just my 2 cents. I'll let you, when I hang up, you can correct me on that if you want to. But the other thing I wanted to mention is when we think about Nick Saban's national championship quarterbacks, going back to LSU, you've got Matt Mock, if I'm not mistaken, Greg McElroy, A.J. McCarron 1-2, Jake Coker, and then Tua, the combination of Tua and Jalen Hurts.
Right.
So my point is that when you think about Nick Saban's national championship quarterbacks, the only ones that really stand out are Jalen Hurts and Tua. The last national championship. So I think that Nick Saban sort of, it's hard to say Nick Saban's underrated about anything. I mean, we get it. I mean, even Bama haters know he's the greatest coach in the game. But I think that often is one aspect that is overlooked when we talk about Nick Saban coach teams. I mean, you can win national teams with Matt Mock and Jay Coker and Greg McElroy.
And Greg McElroy.
Take nothing away from those guys. I love all those guys. I mean, I love Greg McElroy. I love Jay Coker. I love to watch you play, you know.
Well, they were great team players. But Tide, man, here's the thing, though. Here's the point that I was going to add to that. What you're pointing out.
I'll hang up. I'll hang up and listen. So I know you got other calls, but
sure.
I appreciate you letting me talk. And roll Tide. Talk to y'all soon.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for the call. The point that you're making is a great one because it points to Saban. One of the reasons he is the greatest and is different than so many others, I think, is that, you know, these Alabama teams, it's about what they built around those quarterbacks, right? You brought up a great point, though, at the beginning, and I'm going to make a comparison for you that I think makes sense. Everybody listen. Now, feel free to throw darts at me if I'm off on this, but I don't think I am. Tide Man said, if Blake Sims, Alabama 2014, did what he was doing at Alabama 2014 at Oregon or Ohio State or Notre Dame, Blake Sims would have been in New York. There is no doubt about it. For the Heisman Trophy we're talking about. Here's the comparison I was going to make for you. Remember Troy Smith at Ohio State? Won the Heisman in 2006. Y'all remember Troy Smith? Troy Smith, 6 feet tall, 200 pounds soaking wet. He might have been a little bigger than that, 215. He's Blake Sims' size. Built the same way, dual threat. The year that Troy Smith won the Heisman Trophy, the year he won the Heisman Trophy at Ohio State, dual threat quarterback, same size, he threw for almost 1,000 yards less than Blake Sims did at Alabama in 2014. Now, he threw for 30 touchdowns in 2006. Troy Smith did. Well, Blake Sims in 2014 threw for 28. 2 fewer. You go, well, Matt, Troy Smith won the Heisman. He did 30 touchdowns, only 6 interceptions. No. Blake Sims, 2014, 28 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. It's comparable. 4 more picks, 2 fewer touchdowns, 1,000 more yards passing. Same completion percentage. And that year that Troy Smith won the Heisman Trophy, throwing for 1,000 fewer yards than Blake Sims did in 2014, he only rushed for 1 touchdown all year. 1 rushing touchdown and 200 rushing yards all year long. Won the Heisman as a quarterback at Ohio State. The point that Tide Man makes is absolutely correct. Michael, hanging on the Davini Equipment phone line. Davini Equipment, Madison, and in Jackson. What's up, Michael?
Hey, man.
Hey, I got your tweets. Yeah, I got your tweets about Mike Leach.
Sir.
I appreciate it.
Oh, man, yeah, you know, I had a whole list of numbers that I had added up. And Matt, let me tell you, I looked up all his years when he was at Texas Tech and when he was at Washington State. They didn't have the totals of his career points scored versus points given up. So I added every single one of those numbers up each year by year by year, got the average points for the season.
Okay.
For his career at Texas Tech, and then I did it for his career at Washington State, and then I added them all up together. But I was going to try to send that to you, but instead it had too many characters to post.
You couldn't tweet it because you ran out of letters, huh? Is that what it was?
Hey, but what I was going to say is, so I basically covered everything that I sent you in them tweets.
Yeah.
Okay, so what I was getting at is everybody was saying, okay, well, Leach is going to be having more talent than he's ever coached before, but he's also going to be going up against more talent than he's ever coached before. Yeah, that's true and all, but the thing is this. We, as a program, were already beating teams like Texas A&M and Auburn, as I shared with you in my tweet, and we were beating Kentucky and Arkansas consistently almost every year except for the year of Sermonitis in 2016, and then I don't know what happened in 2018. That was just another hiccup. So those things aren't going to be the same going forward. Now you got Mike Leach, not Matt Leach.
That's all right.
The one thing Mississippi State's always lacked is wide receiver play, and until recently, over the last couple of years, quarterback play. Now, we've had good ones over the last couple of years, but we haven't necessarily always had the best history of long-term quarterbacks in terms of, and granted, all the recruiting rankings and the way to analyze players nowadays is far greater and superior than it was 20, 30 years ago.
Mm.
But anyway, my point is, you have him, who is already an exceptional play caller and coach, take teams with far less superior talent and is able to beat teams with far greater superior talent. So now you take him to Mississippi State, where we're already able to beat A&M and teams like them in Auburn pretty consistently, and now we're going to be able to get a greater talent at the wide receiver position where we've been lacking, and bringing us even more superior, quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So when you
Michael,
factor all that together,
what you're saying is when you factor all that in, that offense, the offense, based on any example, any history, or any metric that we have, the offense should work in the SEC against the SEC.
Yep.
And I agree with you on that. And what's going to tell the tale on all this is I don't believe it's going to be offense. I think we know, and we're going to get it's defense. That's what's going to be the difference between getting into bowl games and then every now and then throwing a punch and knocking off the big boys and playing in Atlanta. It's going to be defense.
Oh, yes, sir. And the reason I don't really scratch my head about defense, we know why our defenses last year took some steps off. We don't have to rehash all that. It's written in black and white. But now, as you and I know, we have always built our legacy on defense. And I think now Mike Leach is in a place where he knows defense technically recruits itself at Mississippi State.
Yeah.
So he really almost does not have to worry about that. So you factor both those things in. And I think he's got the right guy with Zach Arnett. When I was listening to Steve's show a while back, I listen to his show all the time, but when Leach hired him, he made references from Zach Arnett to Rocky Long, and then the 4-2-5 defense, which is, as we all know, that's what Joe Lee ran when he was D coordinator here.
Yeah.
And
hey, Michael.
And I remember Steve.
Hey, yeah. And I appreciate the call and all the information, man. Thank you very much. It's good to hear from you.
Sir.
Call me anytime. All this kind of, and I give Michael credit. He asked me yesterday about Leach. I got to thinking about it. He sent me some stuff last night on Twitter. It kind of sparked some of my thoughts. I'm going to come in here today talking about who are the best quarterbacks coaches in the SEC. I have Mullen 1, Leach 2, Kiffin 3. Talking about Leach, though, the numbers. Leach's first year as the quarterback's coach, OC at Kentucky, 1997. Tim Couch threw for 3,800 yards. The next year, Couch threw for 4,200. He jumped up 400 yards from year 1 to year 2. He coached at Oklahoma for 1 year. Josh Heupel was his QB. He threw for 3,600 yards that year. All right, his first year at Texas Tech, Cliff Kingsbury was the quarterback. That first year at Texas Tech, Kingsbury threw for 3,500 yards and 21 touchdowns. Year 2, Kingsbury threw for 3,500 yards. Improved from 21 touchdowns to 25. Improved from 17 interceptions down to 9. Improved from 62% completion to 69% completion. The next year, Kingsbury threw for 25 touchdowns his second year under Mike Leach. The next year, Kingsbury threw for 45 touchdowns. He improved by 20 touchdowns from one year to the next. Kingsbury's junior year, 3,500 yards. You know what he threw for his senior year? 5,000. They all get better. Folks, listen. Lots of coaches and programs go out here and they catch lightning in a bottle. Okay? Ed Orgeron was the head coach. Steve Ensminger at LSU was the co-offensive coordinator. Brady, this young guy, is this genius passing guy. Okay? They had Joe Burrow. We may come back in 2 years and go, all of them caught lightning in a bottle because they had Joe Burrow. Who else, other than Joe Burrow, has LSU developed at quarterback? Who else has LSU put on a field that was better the next year than they were before, other than Joe Burrow? Okay, we're kind of apples and oranges here. But you get what I'm saying. Kevin Sumlin. Kevin Sumlin had offenses that were really good. We forget he coached Case Keenum, an NCAA record setter at the University of Houston. That led to Kevin Sumlin getting the job at Texas A&M, where what happened? He caught lightning in a bottle with Johnny Manziel. Led to a big contract. Where's Kevin Sumlin now? Over the last 10 years, other than Johnny Manziel, who has Kevin Sumlin coached? Answer that. Who have they developed? Who got better? Listen, lots of people can catch lightning in a bottle. But when you give me Mullen, who over 20 years, without exception, there are no exceptions, every quarterback who has started for Dan Mullen was better the next year than he was the year before. For 20 years, every single one of them got better, improved, won more, turned it over less, scored more. Mike Leach, every single one of them got better from one year to the next. What about Washington State, Matt? All right. Washington State. They played more than one quarterback the first year. And take a look at year 2 at Washington State. Well, no, let's just do year 1. Let's do year 1. Year 1 at Washington State, 2012. Mike Leach played 2 quarterbacks. A guy named Jeff Toole, who threw for 2,000 yards, and Connor Halliday, who was a young guy at the time, who threw for just under 2,000 yards. They were a 3,900-yard passing team in year 1. The next year, Halliday, who was around, who threw for 1,800 yards and 15 touchdowns the year before as a sophomore. Year 2 under Mike Leach at Washington State, Halliday threw for 4,597 yards and 34 touchdowns. Improved from one year to the next. Let's go to 2014 at Washington State. Luke Falk, a freshman, won the starting job later in the year but didn't play the whole year. But as a freshman, part-time playing, Luke Falk threw for 1,800 yards, 13 picks. Year 2, Luke Falk threw for 4,561 yards and 38 touchdowns. And when you start looking at what Lane Kiffin has done, they all got better. Here's one for you. The last 2 years at Florida Atlantic under Lane Kiffin, he had a quarterback named Chris Robinson. Transferred there from Oklahoma. I think he got kicked off the team at Oklahoma. His first year, 2018, under Lane Kiffin at FAU, Robinson completed 62%, 2,500 yards, 12 touchdowns, 12 picks. The next year, last season under Lane Kiffin, the same guy. Still 62%, but threw the ball 160 more times for 3,701 yards and made a 1,200-yard jump in passing yardage. Went from 12 touchdowns to 28 and went from 12 picks down to 6. It's improvement, and they've done it everywhere they've been. They've elevated those guys everywhere they've been. You can't say that as consistently across their career about Jimbo Fisher. You can't say that as consistently across their whole career about Gus Malzahn or anybody else in the SEC. All right, back to Blake Sims. We had an unnamed texter said exactly half of Sims' yards and half his completions went to the best wide receiver in football that year, Amari Cooper. He says Ole Miss ain't got an Amari Cooper. No, they probably don't have one. But for the point to remain, they don't have to. Can Lane Kiffin, who took a 5'11" Blake Sims and turned him into Alabama's all-time single-season leader at that time, put up unreal numbers, can he go to that Ole Miss offense and do something with John Rice Plumlee? You bet. And all the people who make John Rice Plumlee out to be somebody who can't throw, that's not true. Is he a polished passer? No. Was he what you would call a great passer of the football coming out of high school? No. He sure as heck is an athlete. So was Blake Sims, a converted running back. Anthony from Tupelo says, are people going to be shocked if Grant Tisdale wins the starting job? No, because they've said they're going to have an open competition. Slippery When Rhett, talking about Troy Smith, says Troy Smith was throwing to Ted Ginn Jr. Yeah, that guy was pretty good, wasn't he? I'd say so. Bulldog Blitz says Sumlin was good at watching quarterbacks transfer and get better. Hey, they had a whole lot of that for sure. And the Mississippi Tiger said it won't be lightning in a bottle because Miles Brennan going to be lighting people up all year. We'll see about that. I hope he does. Mississippi Coast kid. Hope he does well. He's kind of bided his time, and now it's time to see if he can make it happen. Countdown of 100 teams coming up.
This portion of the Matt Wyatt Show is brought.
Farm Bureau Insurance stands ready to provide financial relief to our communities in this time of crisis. This includes a one-time credit to all personal auto policyholders, a donation of $500,000 to the Mississippi Food Network, and additional payment options for those hit the hardest, all while continuing to service customer claims as well. But this is the time to go above and beyond. These are a few ways we're keeping the Farm Bureau promise. To learn more, talk to your agent or visit us online. Go with the home team.
Every farmer understands their farm can't thrive without some good partners like sun, soil, and rain. And farmers in North Mississippi also rely on another important partner, Mississippi Land Bank, because land and farm financing are Mississippi Land Bank's primary focus. We've grown alongside these farmers' crops for more than 100 years. We understand what a farmer needs, and we know the lay of the land in North Mississippi, and that's where I stand.
You know, you hear me say that Ceasefire is the number one network in Mississippi. That's unquestioned. They are another great Mississippi company as well and really support local sports, high school. You know, you see their logo and their advertisements at Ole Miss and at Mississippi State and at Southern Miss and everywhere. And you may have heard this, you may not have, though. I mentioned this recently on the show, but there's a new thing they have at Ceasefire called the Ceasefire Health App. Okay, go to ceasefirehealth.com, read about it, sign up, and you put that app on your phone. And basically, if you have a minor ailment, a sickness, a minor health issue, something that, you know, we're not talking about a broken leg or a heart attack. I mean, you know, minor sickness ailments, instead of having to go to the doctor for that and sit in the doctor's office for an hour, if you live out, you know, drive 40 minutes just to get to the doctor's office, you pick up the phone, click on the Ceasefire Health app, and within minutes, you are video chatting, like FaceTime. You're video conferencing, talking to a medical professional at University Medical Center. One-on-one, live conversation, like nurse practitioner, someone like that. And a lot of times they can tell you what's going on, maybe even diagnose you right there on your phone and prescribe something without you ever even having to leave your house. Check it out, ceasefirehealth.com and the Ceasefire Health app. How you like my hog hat? That stands for Country Pleasin' Sausage. Country Meat Packers is a great Mississippi company. Let me tell you a little bit about them, huh? You want to know the reason that you need to sit down at the table and say, country pleasing, please? Here's why. It all starts with hand-picked, pure pork. No parts, no stuff. It's hand-picked ham, bacon, it's pork loins, the real deal. They produce country pleasing in small batches also, which means consistency in every package. Spices, fresh ones that are mixed daily on site right there at the plant in Florence. The hand-picked pure pork is coarse ground for an old-style snappy bite, better flavor. Now, their smokehouses are not cookie-cutter houses either. They are designed and built for country meat packers and for their own smoking methods. And they use hickory logs that they split daily on site. They don't use hickory sawdust. The logs produce a better smoke, a stronger flavor. It's the real deal. They use a natural hog casing for their sausage. It's soaked in vinegar for a tender snap. Country pleasing sausage is smoked in a 4-hour pure smoke process for the best color and flavor. And here's the thing, it's hand cut, so the package experience is great as well. When you check it out on grocery store shelves throughout the Southeast, you'll see what I'm talking about. And frankly, let me put it this way. It's the best tasting sausage you'll put in your mouth every time. Yeah. Welcome back. I'm Matt in the Farm Bureau studio, kind of making our way through a couple of hours with you here on this Wednesday. Just a reminder in case you missed the update earlier in the week. This show, currently we're on the radio every day with you for 2 hours. We'll move to a 3-hour time slot on Monday, July the 20th. So starting that Monday, July 20th, the show will start at 12. We'll go off at 3 o'clock Central Time, and that'll lead you right into a 3 o'clock start for the new 3-hour version of The Drive with Jake Wimberly in the afternoons on 105.9 The Zone. So there's your update. Look forward to that. Got to get used to it. It's something to get used to. I've been standing up. I got this new standing desk. So I stand up for 2 hours on the show. I don't know if I can stand up for 3, though. May have to make a slight adjustment. All right, y'all can text me. I hope you will on the Country Pleasing text line. Country Pleasing sausage on grocery store shelves throughout the Southeast. It is the best. No question about it. And in fact, Hog Jowl, who just texted me, is responsible for coming by the studio earlier today, and he gave Beaver a bunch of Country Pleasing sausage. He had already cooked it, prepared it. He had jalapeno and cheddar and some of the original smoked sausage, as well as some homegrown tomatoes and cucumbers. And whoo, that's what I'm talking about.
He put a little bit of his homemade barbecue sauce on half of this sausage, Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, my goodness.
It's a real deal, huh?
Slap your mama good.
Hey, listen, a man named Hog Jowl.
Yeah.
He
ought
knows,
to be able to cook sausage.
He knows how to eat. Let's be honest. He knows how to eat.
Absolutely.
He knows what's good.
Sounds like a character from Hee Haw, too.
Yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it? It kind of does. He texts me here on the Country Pleasing text line. He says, Matt, the young man that you visited with who works at State needs to be corrected a bit concerning how Mississippi State usually beats Arkansas. He says State has won the last 3 years, but the Hogs have 19 wins against 16 wins and 1 tie against State. Just wanted to get the facts correct. That is a big thanks from Hog Jowl. Okay, we appreciate you anytime we can get our information right, Hog Jowl. But you are Johnny on the spot, Hog Jowl. Today really has kind of been all about you because of your good deed of loading up Beaver's plate with free Country Pleasing sausage, because your beloved hogs are the subject of the countdown.
It's the final countdown.
100 teams. 100 days.
The countdown is presented by Matt Anderson Properties, a member of National Land Realty. Call Matt Anderson at 408-5155. That's 408-5155.
Yeah, that's right. Matt Anderson Properties with National Land Realty. Matt can help you buy or sell that piece of recreational property, timberland, maybe lakefront. You know what I'm talking about? Like you walk down on the deck, jump in the boat, and go off and go fishing or skiing away. You know, all kinds of property. He can help you with that. And they've got that land 360-degree interactive drone touring where he can have you view the property without ever having to set foot on it. It's really cool. So Matt will help you sell your property, get comprehensive internet traffic reports for your listing as well. Matt Anderson, hit him up, 408-5155. That's the number, 408-5155. Team number 59 on the countdown is... Call those hogs, baby. Call them. Come on. Great fight song, very underrated. Arkansas also has one of the more underrated bands in the country. If you've ever been to an Arkansas game up there in Fayetteville, Little Rock, you know what I'm talking about. They have the great mascot. They have a live hog in a cage, the regular hog, the fuzzy guy, and the big inflatable hog, which is my favorite because he kind of bebops around on the field during the pregame. It's really cool stuff. And I told you earlier that I could hang out with Arkansas fans. They're always really nice when we go up there, and they're my kind of people now. It's beautiful country. We always used to go in October. The leaves would be changed. Sometimes it'd be really cold. They call the hogs, you know. It's like we go duck hunting at daylight. We go to the game, watch the game at noon, and then we go fishing in the afternoon, man. Them Arkansas people are my kind of folks. That's right. But, all right, more about the team. Now, I do want to address this before we get into this year's preview of the 2020 Arkansas Razorbacks. Hog Jowl's pointing out the historical record. I would like to give you my take. Now, it is going to come across as an excuse to anyone who's not a Mississippi State guy. But listen, I experienced it. Arkansas came into the SEC in 1992. I was in high school in 1992. I was a young guy, I guess freshman, sophomore. And when I got in college, no offense, but Arkansas was on your schedule every year. We understood they're in the league. It's important for obvious reasons. You have to beat them if you want to go to the championship game, all this stuff. But for at least a decade, but maybe more, but for sure at least a decade after Arkansas came into the league, kids from Alabama and Mississippi and Louisiana and Georgia and Tennessee didn't naturally get up and excited and jacked up and geeked up with the adrenaline pumping to play Arkansas the same way you would naturally get up to play against Alabama and Auburn and LSU and Tennessee and all that. And it's because if you grew up in the southeastern United States following the SEC, the Southeastern Conference, Arkansas wasn't a part of it for a lot of your childhood. Again, all the respect in the world for Arkansas, but what I'm telling you is, in those early days of Arkansas being in the SEC, the traditional SEC teams and their rosters made up of kids traditionally from the footprint, like I said, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Louisiana. You would say, we get to go to Tuscaloosa. This week, we get to play Auburn. Next week, we've got to go play Arkansas. We have to play Arkansas this week. It was different. I'm just telling you, it was different. And then on the Mississippi State thing, here's what the kind-hearted folks at the SEC did when Arkansas came into the league. They go, congratulations, Mississippi State. Arkansas is going to be sandwiched in between the Alabama and Ole Miss games at the end of November every year. So you talk about that all-time record hog jowl of Mississippi State and Arkansas. You're right, the all-time record. But for a lot of that, look it up. Arkansas has all-time 19 wins in the series. State has 16. There's one tie. State's won a bunch of the recent ones. But for at least a decade, every year, every single year, we played Alabama, boom. We were looking ahead 2 weeks to the Egg Bowl, boom. And in between, was this have-to-play game with Arkansas. In my 5-year career, it's no excuse. Not an excuse. It's just reality. In my 5 years in college, we were flat for the Arkansas game every single year. It's just the way it was. It's not that way anymore, I don't think, but that's the way it was then. Here's a little bit about this year's team. Okay, Sam Pittman, a new head coach. Look at his coaching career. He comes over to Arkansas after being the associate head coach and offensive line coach at Georgia in 2019. And prior to that, 16, 17, and 18, those 3 years, he was the offensive line coach, not associate head coach. He's an offensive line coach. He didn't coordinate one side of the ball. Now he's going to go be the head coach at Arkansas, kind of be a CEO, and he's a heck of a recruiter. They are already recruiting better. But he has a history at Arkansas. He was the assistant head coach, offensive line coach, and the recruiting coordinator at Arkansas in 2013, 14, and 15. They remember him. He remembers them. He knows it. And they just have to recruit, and he knows that. He spent a year at Tennessee coaching the offensive line, a year at North Carolina, or 2 or 3, some time at Northern Illinois. And then you get it back into the 90s. He bounced around out west. He was at Oklahoma. In the Midwest, he was at Cincinnati for a year. Even coached in community college. He's got community college ties. He was at Hutchinson, Kansas back in the early 90s. So he kind of goes way, way back. That's a little bit of the history of Sam Pittman and what you need to know about them. So as it pertains to the schedule, remember what I said about they used to always play Mississippi State sandwiched between the Arkansas and Ole Miss game? At the end of the year. Well, this year it's moved. It's different. It's in a different spot. It's in week 3 for Arkansas, the 3rd ball game of the year. This year, Arkansas will open the season, if it all happens on time, on Saturday, September 5th, hosting Nevada. And then right after that, back-to-back road games. At Notre Dame on the 12th and at Mississippi State in Starkville on the 19th of September. If this goes off without a hitch, those 2 games are the key to the beginning of the Sam Pittman era. At Notre Dame week 2 and at Mississippi State week 3. All right, and I want to get to Sven, who's watching the show on YouTube in Germany, and brought up an interesting point about Dak Prescott under Dan Mullen, as we were talking about quarterbacks coaches. I'll tell you what he said coming up. I'm Matt in the Farm Bureau studio. Stay with me.
Number one, we're open.
Every farmer understands their farm can't thrive without some good partners like sun, soil, and rain. And farmers in North Mississippi also rely on another important partner, Mississippi Land Bank, because land and farm financing are Mississippi Land Bank's primary focus. We've grown alongside these farmers' crops for more than 100 years. We understand what a farmer needs, and we know the lay of the land in North Mississippi, and that's where I stand.
Farm Bureau Insurance stands ready to provide financial relief to our communities in this time of crisis. This includes a one-time credit to all personal auto policyholders, a donation of $500,000 to the Mississippi Food Network, and additional payment options for those hit the hardest, all while continuing to service customer claims as well. But this is the time to go above and beyond. These are a few ways we're keeping the Farm Bureau promise. To learn more, talk to your agent or visit us online. Go with the home team.
Campuses are empty. The arenas are silent. For now. people here today are few and far between. But soon, a crowd will show up. It's not a matter of if football will be played here. It's a matter of when.
I'll be there. I'm sure you will be too. I'll see you there.
It won't be long now. Can you imagine the return of the crowds to see the return of the team? What a day that will be. And it will be soon. How you like my hog hat? That stands for Country Pleasin' Sausage. Country Meat Packers, a great Mississippi company. Let me tell you a little bit about them, huh? You want to know the reason that you need to sit down at the table and say, country pleasin', please? Here's why. It all starts with hand-picked, pure pork. No parts, no stuff. It's hand-picked ham, bacons, pork loins, the real deal. They produce country pleasin' in small batches also, which means consistency in every package. Spices, fresh ones that are mixed daily on site right there at the plant in Florence. The hand-picked pure pork is coarse ground for an old-style snappy bite, better flavor. Now, their smokehouses are not cookie-cutter houses either. They are designed and built for country meat packers and for their own smoking methods. And they use hickory logs that they split daily on site. They don't use hickory sawdust. The logs produce a better smoke, a stronger flavor. It's the real deal. They use a natural hog casing for their sausage. It's soaked in... Yeah, it's been a little while since I had some of that green onion. The green onion smoked sausage from Country Pleasin', and right here in Mississippi, Florence, Mississippi, at Country Meat Packers. You can get it online, countrypleasin.com. Been a while since I had the green onion. That was kind of my first introduction to Country Pleasin' sausage, was the green onion flavor. And then there's pepper jack and green onion. Beaver, you were talking earlier about how you like cheese in anything.
Yeah.
Jalapeno and cheddar. You ought to try pepper jack and green onion Country Pleasin' sausage. Whew.
Pepper J is among my favorite cheeses.
It is?
Yeah.
What kind of, so I know it's in sausage, but what kind of stuff are we supposed to eat pepper jack cheese on? Is it good on anything, or you just put it on hamburgers, or what?
Pepper J is good on tacos. Mix it in your eggs. It's delicious.
Ooh, boy, I bet.
Obviously, it's good on a sandwich.
A sandwich?
Yeah, it's kind of like sausage.
Wait a minute. Why did he say sandwich?
I'm not real sure. I'm looking at him, and I'm not real sure.
And you notice what else he did? You notice what else he did? He also did Pepper J.
Pepper J, I know, right?
He shortens or lengthens everything. Nothing is, like, my name is Matt. You know what he calls me? Matt Wyatt. Every time it's Matt Wyatt.
He does that when he's talking about you when you're not around, too. It's almost like your mom's calling you, except he doesn't know your middle name.
Right. Hey, look, I'm on their website, countrypleasin.com. You can do, like, if I go do a 6-pack cooler, they will ship FedEx for $35. Well, the $35 is the order. And they will FedEx to you a 6-pack cooler. So in a cooler with ice, and you can put any 6 flavors you want in any combination. And your choices on that particular order can be the original smoked, Cajun sausage, Cajun andouille, green onion, jalapeno and cheddar, pepper jack and green onion, and pork and pineapple.
Now that would I have had pineapple and cheese before, and that is really good.
Yeah.
Hey, Matt Wyatt.
Hey.
I have to raise a concern since we're on the country pleasing topic.
Let's hear it.
All right. I want to be a little selfish for a minute, if you indulge me.
Go right on.
Because what I'm concerned with now is in 2 weeks, when I step out of the chair to run your show and Jables takes over, what I'm afraid of is your country pleasing offer. The next time you're actually in here,
be careful now.
Is that country pleasing is not going to come to me now?
It's going to be rescinded.
Yeah.
You know what?
Because you're going to have a new guy on the board.
Now I tell you this: you have my word that any country pleasing sausage I get, I will not give to Brooks.
How about this? And I'm being dead serious. I'm not just throwing this out to move along on the radio. Why don't we, I'll come back for vacation. We'll have the first week of the new 3-hour show starting on the 20th. But sometime there, late July, early August, sometime in that 2 to 3 week window, I'm being serious about this. Let's plan a day, Beaver, where I'll come down, I'll do the show in the studio with Dr. Brojo, Brother John. You will be there. And prior to the show starting at noon, I know you'll be on the gridiron. What I'll do is we will prepare a bunch of country pleasing sausage, and we'll all just sit around and eat it while we talk on the radio in the studio together.
Oh, I'm in.
You got yourself a deal.
And what we can do, is I can get a hold of one of these, like, we can either do a 6 flavor cooler or we can do 12. But I may just do the 6 one and get 6 different flavors, and then we'll just all kind of have a taste test right there on the radio. We'll just eat it. That's what we'll do. We'll do it in the studio.
Sounds like we should do that for every day, but that's a lot of traveling for you.
Oh, yeah, well, it would be, wouldn't it? It almost would be worth it.
Or we could just do a remote in Tupelo.
That's an option. Yeah, we could do one down there. Heck, man, we could just string a cord out in the parking lot. And just cook out. The only thing about cooking out in the parking lot is then other people think, oh, they're cooking out. Let's go check it out and see what they're doing. And the food's going to be, all right, so that's a deal. We'll do that. I'll get one of those coolers we'll get 6 different flavors. We'll cook it up, and then we'll just eat on the radio. That's what we'll do. It's a done deal. It's a done deal.
Beaver's writing it down, Matt.
He's writing it down.
Yeah.
In ink or in pencil?
No, it's definitely in ink.
Okay.
I don't put anything in pencil, Matt Wyatt. If it's official, then it's officially in ink.
Pepper J.
That made me think of pepper jelly and cream cheese or whatever that is.
Yeah.
Pour on that stuff,
Right. That's good stuff, man. Good stuff. Hey, I mentioned to y'all. How about this? Sven, like the character in Frozen? Sven is watching. He commented on the live stream on the YouTube channel and says, "Good evening," all the way from Germany. See, they are 7 hours difference in all of Germany than here. They're 7 hours ahead. Were they ahead or behind? They're ahead.
Is that a buddy of yours from the days gone by playing pro football over there?
Well, heck, man. No, I don't think so. I had a friend who was our backup quarterback, and he was a German guy when I was living over there. His name was Jan. His name is Jan Zeif. Great guy. Wonderful guy. But I didn't have a Sven. That's hard to say for me. Sven. Anyway, he's listening and watching in Germany, and he said this. Mullen had Tebow and Dak under his wings, but Dak was not really a thrower at that time in 2014 and 15. He says Dak and Josh Robinson was, in my humble opinion, a running back tandem extraordinaire with the big guy Williams at wide receiver. You had Bear Wilson. That's right.
You got time for a quick story?
The Runyon Wilson.
Seconds?
Yeah, let me hear it.
All right, so my youngest played football at Clinton, and matter of fact, the first game that you did on the Ceasefire stuff
was
Clinton Madison, and he was the quarterback for Clinton.
Was he really?
Yeah. Matter of fact, I've still got that DVD, and I can listen to Matt Wyatt do commentary on that. But
that is really cool. Those were so much fun. The Ceasefire Bright Lights series. I believe I had as much or more fun getting to be involved in those as I have any other broadcast of any other sports. Okay, go ahead.
It was a cool thing. And anyway, so he, after his senior year, he gets invited up to state for one of their big combine camps. And after his junior year, and he had labrum surgery, so he wasn't able to throw. But we're sitting there talking with Mullen and the OC, and all of a sudden this guy walks in the center there, and Mullen and the guy immediately turn to go see this young man that's coming in the doors, and my son looks at me and says, "Who is that?" And I said, "I don't know. He looks like a linebacker." Anyway, it's Prescott. and so that day when they're on the field throwing, I mean, I watched him throw the ball 55 yards in the air that day, and he still had his senior year to play.
Right.
So I think Dak had just the raw ability, and he definitely had the skill set. I'm not being an astronomer with that, but I mean, he just and he put all the things into place, which I don't know that he would have done without Mullen.
Listen, there's no question that being drafted where he was and then being able to win and hold on to an NFL starting job and be a rookie of the year in the NFL, play the way he did in 2016, is in large part a testament to Dan Mullen. Yeah, it's Dak Prescott, a majority of it, because it's him, the one doing it. But here's, what you're pointing out right there. You said, okay, he still had a year to go, and you're watching him throw the ball out there at practice. You got to see him kind of working out in person. And the guy's built, no doubt, like a middle linebacker.
Yeah, I mean, I really thought he was the linebacker prospect until they said, okay, we're breaking everybody up. Quarterbacks go over here. And so my son and about 15 others, along with Dak, and I'm just like, there's no way that guy's a quarterback.
Right. Okay. He's built different. Listen, fast forward to the end of his college career. Sven said 2014-15. This is not at all me pouring water all over everything Sven said. What I'm saying is, even then, but still now, there's this narrative out there about Dak Prescott. Narrative is not the right word by definition. There's this thread of conversation out there and belief, perception of Dak Prescott in his years in college that he wasn't a passer. He was not a good thrower, all this stuff. Y'all, that could not be farther from the truth.
Oh, I agree 100%.
2013, the year that he was hurt, and he came in miraculously in the Egg Bowl. He didn't start the whole year, all that kind of stuff. He was 58% completion, 1,900 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions in mop-up time. This year in 2014, when they said he couldn't throw, he threw for 3,400 yards, 62%, 27 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. Then his senior year improved to 66%, 3,700 yards, 29 touchdowns, only 5 picks. It was phenomenal.
And not the best receivers either.
No, he was not playing with what Alabama had. He wasn't playing with what Ole Miss had. And he did all that, and all because somebody like Cowherd knocks his passing ability. Dak has always been good mechanically, and he's always been a good passer. The narrative to the contrary is completely false. All right, Jables, see you tomorrow.
Peace.
Y'all, see you in the Farm Bureau studio tomorrow. See you.